Lately, I have not been able to practice because I unfortunately have been struggling with an injury. So I have had quite a lot of extra time and I have been spending it on trying to think of what else besides badminton that I enjoy and like to do. And I'm not gonna lie, but it has seriously not been easy. And to be honest, I don't think I really have figured it out yet, but at least I'm one step closer. So during this period, I have been spending more time on practicing the guitar, trying to read a bit more, and spending a lot of time watching anime and videos on YouTube. And yeah, then something came to my mind. As an athlete, there is no doubt about that diet and nutrition plays quite a big role in terms of performance and recovery. Some people care more than others about the diet, but we cannot deny the fact of the nutritional components that food has and how it affects our body, whether we are an athlete or not. Personally, I don't follow any specific diet myself, but I do find it very interesting and I care a lot about what I eat without being too strict or religious about it. And in general, I like cooking and making food, so I thought to myself, hey, why not share some of the stuff I like to eat and how to make it? And hopefully you will get some inspiration too and potentially try out something different as well. I think it is very important to point out that what works for me might not work for you, since it is very individual and you gotta find out what works for you. The stuff I make will of course mostly have a nutritional value in it, but some of it will also be things that I find delicious, easy and enjoy making. So before we get into all of the cooking and recipe, here are some tips I have found helpful and might make the cooking process more efficient and safe for you as well. And also a couple of food tips which will be useful for later on. Mise en place. And yes, I most likely pronounced that completely wrong. Anyways, in other words, it means to have everything in its place. So before you start cooking, have everything prepared so you won't have to do it while you're cooking and risk losing the control. That could be wash and chop up your veggies, eventually put them into a small bowl, slice your meat, bring the water to a boil, measure whatever has to be measured and so on. This will hopefully help make the cooking process easier to manage. Of course, you don't want the cutting board to slip around while you are chopping up your veggies or slicing the meat and risk cutting yourself. To prevent it from doing so, simply take a tablecloth and wet it. Put it under your cutting board and it should stabilize it. If not a tablecloth, a wet paper towel will work wonders as well. Let's talk about knives. You want to make sure that your knife is sharp because a dull knife can be more dangerous than a sharp one, since the risk of it slipping is higher when you have to use force while cutting. Next up, how should you grip the knife? You want to have a good control of it when you are slicing and dicing. To do so, you want to pinch your index and thumb on the top of the blade and grip with the remaining 3 fingers on the handle. This will give a good grip and control of the knife. Now what to do with your other hand. Here you want to get your Italian hand game going. Get your fingers behind and use the knuckle as a guide when chopping. This way you will keep your fingers safe from the blade and be able to have a precise cutting as well. If you got something bigger to chop, simply just use a bigger claw grip and again use the knuckle as a guide. If you, like me, have your trash can literally on the other side of where you're doing all your stuff, I would highly suggest having a waste bag right next to you where you will be able to throw in your trash so you can avoid running back and forth all the time and then just dump it all in at once when you are done. My next tip is to weigh your pasta so you won't end up with cooking way too much and have a lot of waste. The ideal portion for an adult is 100 grams, and no, you don't have to be exact, but use it as a reference point to figure out how much you need to cook instead of trying to eyeball it and end up with different portions from time to time. So yeah, weigh your pasta, people. My last tip is, if you have some fruit, especially bananas, lying around which are about to get too ripe, slice them up, put them into an airtight container or plastic bag and throw them into the freezer. These can be used for smoothies and other good stuff which we will get to later on. And one last thing is that I would highly encourage you to try and make your own food if it is possible and you got the time for it. And no, you don't have to make this crazy 5-course meal which takes 3 or 4 hours to make. It doesn't have to be complicated or fancy for it to be good. So I hope you'll give it a shot and a chance. Alright, so that is it for now. Thank you so much for watching. I'm looking so much forward to share what I got cooking, and I hope you would like to follow what's coming and give it a try. If you do, please consider subscribing down below and hit the bell to get notified when a new video will be out. Until then, take care, stay safe, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.